Today we're going to do part 3 of Traveller's Tales, and here we are on the line. And I was thinking about this little series the other day, Traveller's Tales. Well, it's still existing now because I always get the feeling I'm still travelling. I'm not in my homeland, I'm in a foreign country still, and just carrying on with the adventure. Anyway, let's go back to the stories, and we're back down in Greece and there's no work in the oranges. So we take a ferry to the island of Spetsi. So we went to this island called Spetsi, and there's a book by an author called John Fowles, and he wrote a book I think it was in the 60s called The Magus, and it's about a guy, an English guy, who goes to Spetsi and he gets a job in a school teaching English in the Lord Byron School in Spetsi. And so that's one of the reasons we decided to go to Spetsi, because it was quite near, the island was near, and we thought, yeah, let's go there. We've read the book, see what it's like. So we got the little ferry over to Spetsi, it's quite near the mainland, and we got there and we were looking around. There was no agricultural work going, and we ended up in a taverna, and we got quite smashed on Retsina in there. And then this guy came in really well dressed and started talking to me in English, and believe it or not, he said, do you want to have a job working in the English school? And it was quite surreal really, because the only reason we'd gone to the island was to following in the footsteps of this book, The Magus, and all sorts of weird things happened to the guy in The Magus. But nothing came of that job anyway, because I was just too drunk in the bar. But I did learn one thing. I learned the word for tinderbox in Greek is photia, because I asked this old Greek guy, what's the Greek word for lighter? And he said photia. And I was using this word all the time, and all the Greeks would be laughing at me. And eventually one of them explained to me, he says, you're asking if you can use the tinderbox. You know, the old name, what the old man in the bar had told me, the old name. So I was going around asking people if I could use the tinderbox to light my cigarettes. So there was nothing doing on Spetsi, so we went back to the mainland. Yeah, but you got to remember, travelling's not all good times. You get sort of times when you haven't got anything to eat. I remember all we had to eat was 1 kilo of bread, and we had a clove of garlic, and I ended up coming to blows with my best friend over this piece of garlic, because he rubbed all the garlic into his bread and there was no garlic left for me. And it's funny when you go back to them times and think when you were starving hungry and all the things you ate then. We used to eat orange sandwiches and pick stuff like wild asparagus in the fields and eat that stuff, wild spinach. And now if I cook that food or if I eat an orange sandwich, I always go back to that time when I was really hungry and the food tastes lovely. So that's a good thing you get from going travelling, is when you've been starving, you always enjoy that food for the rest of your life. I remember one time ending up in Crete, in a place called Matala, and that's in the 60s. All the hippies used to go there and live in caves on the beach. So we went there, and I remember really clearly, I just had myself some boots made by the local boot maker. I had to get my foot measured and everything, and that was like 4 days work to get them boots made. And they were hand-stitched leather boots up to my knees, big Cretan peasant boots. And I got my brand new boots, and like an idiot I got drunk and went running down the beach in the sea with them. So I absolutely ruined my brand new boots by running in the water. And then we went to our cave where we lived, and we were just about to clear out from there. And I know this is a bit polluting, but we cooked our evening meal with a pan of spaghetti or whatever we had, and no one could be bothered cleaning the plates, so we just picked the cooker up, the spaghetti, the pans, the plates, knives and forks, and threw them down the cliff into the sea. And you could do things like that. Remembering things like walking to the disco, which was about 2 miles away. And we had enough money to get 2 drinks in there, and they used to play stuff like The Doors, and we used to dance like mad in there because we didn't have any music or anything ourselves. I remember one time we walked up a river to our waists in water because that was the shortest way up to this disco club thing, and we all came out of the river and in the club through the back door where they kept all the empty crates, and just dived through this door onto the dance floor all soaking wet into the middle of this disco. And it's like, when you think about it, it's youthsome tricks, isn't it? But the worst, I think, one of the worst stories was coming back. I went down to Greece 4 times for 6 months. I used to go every winter. And one time coming back, I had to hitch through Yugoslavia, and it was freezing cold, raining. And I got to the border of Italy from Yugoslavia, up through Belgrade, Zagreb, Ljubljana, and then to the border, a place called Gorica, northern Yugoslavia. And this was 30 years ago, and this was when Yugoslavia was still a communist country, and it wasn't very good to do naughty things there. Anyway, I got to the Italian border and went up to the Italian border, and all I had on me was a big old mouldy salami and some rock hard bread, and not a penny on me. And the Italians just said, no, go back into Yugoslavia. So I went back into Yugoslavia and then tried the next frontier point, which was 5 kilometers down the road. No, go back, no money, no monita. So getting a bit desperate now, I hitched to another crossing point, exactly the same thing. The Italians said, no monita, get back, go to Yugoslavia, back. And I'm saying, I just want to pass through Italy and get back to England. And they said, no, you can't. So I went back into Yugoslavia, and I thought, the only way I'm going to be able to get out of here is just go across the border illegally. And I saw some railway lines, and behind the railway lines there was a sort of a wall, and then behind that you could see Italy. You could see the pizzerias and the flag and everything. And I thought, all I have to do is get across those railway lines, skip over them, run over that wall, climb over the wall, and I'm in Italy then. I didn't have any options really, and so I did that. And as soon as I crossed the railway line, like I was a bit naive then, but all along in the ground was little round holes, and they opened like, the house of a dung beetle, and each one had a guy standing with a submachine gun pointing right at me. Halt! So I stopped really quick and put my hands up, and they came out of the holes and marched towards me and asked me questions and what am I doing. I said I just wanted to get to Italy, and then they took me to the army base. But first of all we went onto the railway lines, and 2 of them were behind me with guns pointing at my back saying, "Yes, march." So I was walking up this railway line with 2 kids the same age as me with machine guns pointing at me, and I thought, I'm just going to get shot in the back here, is that it? So we kept on walking all the way up the railway lines for about half an hour. Must have been a good few miles, and then we got to a little army camp like something out of a snuff movie, and I got a strip search in the army camp, and I just left in a little hut for about 5 hours, and then the local police came and took me to the prison cells, and they just didn't say a word to me, no food, and put in a little black room with no window, pitch black, no water, and I was in there just wondering what was going to happen. And the next morning around 10 o'clock they came and took me out of the cell and took me to the court in Yugoslavia. And the man says, what are you doing trying to leave Yugoslavia illegally. And I said, I just want to get out. I want to go home. I don't want to do anything illegal, but they won't let me into Italy. And at the end anyways, he said, why don't you stay in England and play cricket? I thought, yeah, right, thanks a lot. And he said, I've got 12 hours to leave Yugoslavia, or I'm getting 30 days for trying to cross over the border. So I went to the crossing post again. Same thing happened. Got turned back, walking back into Yugoslavia. Got picked up by the Yugoslavian police and brought to the same police station again. And the sergeant who was behind the desk just went, let him go, I don't want to see him again. So I went back to another border, and I seen a guy in an Italian car at a Yugoslavian petrol station, filling up petrol. And I just went up to him and I begged him, I said, please take me across the border. And he said, no drugs? I said, no drugs, no nothing, no problems, just take me across the border and get me out of this country. And he did, and I was free from Yugoslavia.